Well, hi friends, I'm Brian Cosby, this is Provide and Protect, and today we're talking about winter chickens. And chickens are probably the easiest animal to have on your property or homestead because they're very resilient, they're very sturdy, and we've been raising chickens for about 10 plus years, 10, 12 years. And so my boys mainly take care of the chickens, but I want to talk through really some of the things you need to think about in the wintertime, especially for chickens. So when we think about taking care of chickens in the wintertime, there's a few things you need to think about. And one of them is just taking care of them. And when doing that, you got to think about obviously food, water, those kinds of things, shelter. And let me just start with the shelter here. Maybe come over here and kind of show this. So this is a shelter that I got the design from Justin. I think it's Justin Rhodes. I'll leave a link down below. But it's called a chickshaw. And this chickshaw is, we've had it for about 5-6 years now, and it's been through a lot of storms, a lot of weather. But basically, the top folds up, so you can get access from the top. You got these latches here. Obviously, nothing. The top is blown off in many storms, so that's why it is like that. But I like it that they can get underneath if they want to. They can get inside. It's just a wire mesh on the floor, so their droppings just kind of drop through, which is really nice. And then in the back, let's come over to the back real quick. I'll show you the back. This is where the nesting boxes are here, and these you can just kind of pull out, get the eggs on the front. They can get in. You just cut that out, and then they get in that way, and then drop their eggs in here. So that's the shelter. And the nice thing about this is that we can move this around. We move this around all over our property, and we have an electric netting that goes around it. But in the winter time, we put the chickens in. This is our garden area that I'm in right now. And so throughout the winter, they're fertilizing and all of that. And that's a great thing because we'll take them out at the end of January and then letting their manure cool off, you might say. And so it'd be ready for spring planting. So that's why they're in here during the winter time. So that's the shelter. Again, the nice thing is you can move it all over the place, and it's just really handy. Now, as far as their food, again, chickens, they're really self-sufficient in this kind of way. And so you can put them out really anywhere, and they'll really take care of themselves. However, we found in the winter time especially, we do feed them like a non-GMO pellet. Get out of the wind a little bit. Non-GMO pellet because it really helps egg production, keeps them warm, and all of that. So we do supplement in the wintertime with some pellets for sure. We do that throughout the year, but mainly in the wintertime. We have to give them a little bit more food. The other thing about food in the wintertime for them is even if they're on the ground or out in a field or pasture or something like that, if you've got 6 inches of snow, kind of like what we do in here, then 4 inches, whatever it is, 4 to 6 inches, then it's really hard for them to pick, obviously, anything in the ground, on the soil and getting bugs because it's just snow. They're fine to walk around. Again, I said they're really resilient. We don't have any power out here for them, and that's okay. If it gets into the single digits Fahrenheit, then we'll put in some like hay and straw. I'll come back over here. Put in some like hay and straw in the chickshaw here, and put some like bales, and it just blocks the wind and helps give them a little insulation. But they're just fine in the wintertime. We've never had one like freeze to death or anything like that. All our winters. Now, if you have a heat lamp or something or a way to do that, that might be a good thing. So anyway, that's that. Also, scraps is a really helpful thing from your kitchen. We just put scraps in there, and they love that. And also, if you have winter squash or pumpkins left over from Thanksgiving, they love that. It's really good for them as well. So now water is something. So we have a food thing, and we're about to put some food in here in just a minute. We just have this food container in here, and we can just pull that out. We can hang it if we want to. But we just put the pellets in that, and that's just fine. Now, when it comes, and we put scraps in this one right here. Now, when it comes to water, obviously our water is frozen. And so I'm going to show you, watch your foot there. I'm going to show you what my son, one of my sons does. You can go ahead and put water in. Is for the water, again, this is something you got to think about in the wintertime. is getting all the ice out. Okay, so there's and the reason that we like this kind of rubberized bowl right here is because of what my son just did. You can stomp on it. If it's like a hard plastic, it'll just crack. So I like the rubberized bowl for water, but you can go ahead and put the water in there, buddy. And these are we found to be the easiest way to transport water out here in the wintertime. We have our hose turned off. We have a spigot over here, but we have that turned off in the wintertime. And so in the morning, we fill up, these is just like an old vinegar jug from like Costco or something. We just fill that up with some warm water and we put that in here, and that's easy. So my boys can easily fill their water up with one of those. And so that's the one thing you would need to do for sure in the wintertime is make sure, well, in summertime too, but make sure they have enough water. But the problem in the wintertime is that it freezes. So they got to have enough water. So so that's the food, that's the water, that's the shelter. But they're really a sturdy kind of flock to have or animal to have on your property, your homestead. The other thing is we have in here Buff Orpington and Rhode Island Reds. We've had Barred Rock, we've had Americanas. They're all great chickens to have. Some have a different temperament more than others. Some are better egg producers than others. Speaking of eggs, your egg production is going to drop in the wintertime because of the lack of light and heat. So mainly light. Some people will actually put more light in there to increase egg production in the wintertime, but they're not going to produce as many as in the summertime. Summertime, we are overloaded with eggs. Wintertime, not as much. The other thing you got to watch out for chickens in the wintertime is eggs will freeze. So if you don't go out and collect them, at least every day or once or twice a day, depending on how cold it is, where you live, then they're going to freeze, and so that's not good. So those are a few things to think about for chickens in the wintertime. But man, they're great to have throughout the year. They're picking up the bugs, the insects, the ticks, all those kinds of things. But you get fresh eggs, and that's really the biggest thing. Now these birds here, they're kind of toward the end of their life cycle, so we might be processing them this spring and having some meat birds, or summer maybe. We'll get a new flock this spring. We usually keep them around about 4 or 5 years. We've had as many as 40 something birds at one time, way too many for our family or even neighbors. Then we went down to like 22, and then some of them got out, or one got sick, a couple got eaten. So we do have protection from animals out here with our dogs. And that's important to have if you're thinking about doing chickens, and that's true for wintertime or summer. But our dogs, we have 2 Great Pyrenees, and so they kind of patrol this whole area around here from predators. Now aerial predators, again, a nice thing about this shelter here is they can get underneath. So aerial predators aren't a problem, and the aerial predators also see the Great Pyrenees. So anyway, so you got to be able to protect your livestock, including your chickens. So, well, guys, I hope this has been helpful for you today. And if you have other thoughts or comments or suggestions that I have not mentioned here today, go ahead and drop those down below. But hope it's been helpful. If you've not already done so, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel. Really appreciate you and your support. We'll see you in the next video.